Hi again, this is Bad Our Boy, and today we're playing A Case of Distrust, the demo, a game made by Ben Wonder, and it's basically a detective game. So, uh, I got 2 minutes into it, and I think it's a cool game. So, because the demo is just like 20 minutes, and the full game will be on 8th of this month, I decided to give it a try. There were no cases just then. The cat was mewing and needed attention. I had to contact the cat. Okay, so just to put you in the picture, we play as a female detective who used to be a cop but now left the San Francisco Police Department, and she's finding a hard time to find a job or to work on a case, and there's a cat that always appears at her window demanding for food. So we're going to contact the cat. That's Mr. Meow. Cat. Let's call it Mr. Meow. So, and there's like really a lot of cool stuff to explore. Let's see. I had taken copies of old murder cases from the San Francisco PD records when I'd left. I loved reading through them, even though my own contributions were minimal. That time I launched for those types of jobs. The truth was, any work was hard to find for a female detective. Yeah. So that's basically it. Kept a small saddle underneath the side table. It had been a police evidence in a crime, and its owner hadn't wanted it back. I took a shine to it, so I snagged it for myself on my way out of the department. Sorry if I'm not that energetic, but making this like 12. I'm making this at midnight. The map had belonged to my Uncle Lewis. He'd been an SFPD officer, one who argued policewomen could be good detectives. Even while the others jeered at me, I knew he'd been right, but my current workload didn't help that claim. I thought about Lewis. I tried not. I thought about Lewis. I thought about Lewis more often than I wanted. I was lousy at handling the emotions behind those thoughts. Okay. Packaged cigarettes were the latest trend. I still preferred to roll my own. The ashtray was evidence that it was a practiced skill. I suppose I had a lot of free time back then. So she's a smoker. The old notebook, now filled to the brim. I wrote everything down, even the minor details. Never know what can be useful. The second half had my current. The first half had my old cases. Had my current. Okay. The second half had my current bunk. Adultery cases, the only things I'd get hired to do. Whatever my findings, my employers often refused to believe me. It was thankless work, but even that was hard to come by. Okay. So, so we are in a time period where women didn't have their rights. Okay, and look, this paper was flopped on the floor. It headlined about the death of Lenin, leader of the Red Menace, sweeping Russia. It seemed the Bolsheviks had lost their head. Well, that means we're in the 20s, because I guess Lenin died in the 1920s. Another evidence to back that we are in the 20s is regular white icebox, tinged yellow with age, half blocked the kitchen doorway. My income rarely kept much stock in it, and right now it was empty. So, the icebox, for you who don't know history, is simply the father of the refrigerator, its ancestor, the old models. It was a box made of wood where they kept food, and there was a guy like the newspaper guy, like the guy who delivers milk, or like the mailman. There was the ice boy. He will just bring ice blocks, and they will put it inside the ice box, but on the top there was a top shelf, like here. They will open it, put the ice box, and keep the whole thing cool. It will keep the food. In the 30s, it had been replaced with, of course, refrigerators and whatnot. So, let's talk to the cat. And I'm looking crazy, as I am. It doesn't matter how dew-eyed you are, cutie pie. You got no food around, I told him. And the whole story happens in the past. It just, oh, that's cute. It just, she, the protagonist, we are telling the story, we are remembering a story. He licked his chops and looked at me. Apparently he still didn't believe that I needed to contradict him, somehow show him something in the apartment that would prove it was empty of food. Contradict. Show the cats there's no food. Okay. Evidence. Paper stashed, statue, newspaper, icebox. Regular, okay, used to contradict. I opened the icebox to the cat so the cat could see inside. Empty, I told him. The cat looked quizzically at the open door, back at me. Sorry, fella, there's no grub in there for me either. He stared at me with the eyes as disappointed as I felt. His big yellow eyes got to my soul. Thoughts of my family filled my head. My sisters. My parents. My parents. My parents were still in Chicago, where they'd moved our family in my final year of schooling. I returned to California, but they maintained that there were better job prospects for my father in Chicago. His alcoholism, his new kicks. Apparently he was alcoholic, but what is a kicks? Kick. Q-I-Q. I should look it up. His new gigs. Oh, gigs. That means works. Never permanent. Odd jobs from his brother's contacts. Been a painter, a mover, a dockhand, and whatever other professions required cheap labor. Few questions. Then a drunk rarely kept much work for long. Mother stuck by him. Sister refused. Her sister, well, she's married, I guess. I don't know, like I played it last time, but I forgot some stuff. Never mind. My sister refused. Let's go with that. Sister refused any financial aid. My father quit his addiction. Stubbornness and pride caused both sides much grief, and they were no longer on speaking terms. My parents were much worse for it, though. Most of their money came from my late grandmother's trust, but those funds were barely a trickle. I often dreamed of saving enough to help them. My months spiraled into the usual series of questions. I even impacted the women's movement. Did I make any change in society at all? Was my plodding career worth losing traditional happiness? Wait a minute. What is this? What was the point in the life I had chosen? A loud meow from the cat snapped my thoughts back into the moment. I took a deep breath, grinned back at him. You can scram now, he said. Nobody's going to come knocking with food for you, fella. Knocking with food for you, fella. There immediately came a banging on the front door. Beyond a nuisance, this cat was psychic too. You order out? I asked him. From the door. Oh, that's cool, the transition. The doorway was the regrettably familiar face of Connor Green. I see what you did. Connor Green. And you colored him in green. I stared at him. I looked past him. His company churned my stomach. It would have been his bergamot perfume, which hung around my nostrils like a lingering unwanted guest. that sordid smile, which was forever blasted on his face. Okay, what did you do? Like, that's creepy, man. Just no, no. He stared at me through the doorway with a coy smile. Well, you gonna invite me inside? I let him through. Started closing the door. Stay out, creep. Okay, stop doing this. Started closing the door, but he stuck out a foot to stop. Hey now, he shished. He shit. I can't read. Foul way to treat a customer, Malone. I guess it's our family name, Malone. So that was his angle, hiring me as detective. I wondered what the bootlegger would need with a private eye. He answered without my prompt. I'll make this quick. I can't take this to the hog house, or the pigs would laugh me out. And other just aren't as tempting. His grin widened. Though this was gonna be quick, I said, and I started rolling a cigarette. It wasn't quick, and I'd already rolled and lighted a second smoke. Green finally finished his story. I know the important bits in my book. Okay. It had started with a letter slipped under his door in a white envelope. The envelope contained a single typewritten leaf, which she handed to me. It read, "End your game, or we'll end you." It had no signature, that ending with only a small scribble in the bottom right corner that resembled a black hand. Oh. That, I'm 80%, okay, how am I kidding? 100% sure it's the mob. Because the 20s, 30s, and 40s were the years of the mafia. Green had a lead on a new rum-running scheme. Moonshining. Prohibition. Yeah. Connection from Vancouver. Given a sample to Tiny Paul. Gangster who ran the Tine Spoon speakeasy for mob boss Jerry Ferry. Jerry the Fairy. No. Jerry the Tooth Fairy. Well, Tooth Fairy Part 3 is confirmed. They'd agreed buying for more. Prince Sarms the letter was about his rum running. So, as I expected, it's the mob. Suspected Redstone stable. Another bootlegger was sending the letter. He told me that stable ran a barber shop during the day. Gave me the address. He needed to know who the threat was from. Get Paul's gang to deal with them and continue his scheme to get rich. If I go snooping myself, he concluded, folks see I'm not trusting people. Trust leads to no customers. I need to play it low-key, which is where you come in. I raised an eyebrow and stared at him through the cigarette smoke. Something in his yarn was still twisted. Oh my god. This really gives me the bad vibes. He must noticed my reticence because he said, "No, I work closely with Lewis. I'm sure he'd want to protect me as much as any other victim. Don't say anything about her uncle, man. It's not cool. Queen, it's not cool. You're just playing with her emotionally." My uncle, Lewis, had me on the force. Finally accepted Lou's death. Was still searching for answers. Lewis had me on the force. Was still searching for answers. My uncle, I was still searching for answers after his death. And a man obsessed with helping victims, bringing justice to those beyond salvation. That echoes, I never understood how he could have taken his own life. Oh my god, oh. This is depressing. Those thoughts haunted me. I'd quit the SFPD and started my own practice, thinking his philosophy. Was Green worth my time? Would he be worth Louis? Louis's time? Oh my god, it's just so depressing. Green had tipped off my uncle in a few cases. I wondered if there was enough that was enough to warrant my protection. Before I could think past a headache, he threw a bill in my lap. Keep the C note as a retainer, and don't worry about getting in touch. I'll find you later for a chat. Oh, a creep. Turned down the hallway. I let him go. If he was willing to give me $100 with no commitment, I wouldn't stop him. Then back to the apartment, still confused about the whole story. My headache wasn't helping either. Whenever I lacked clarity, a trip to Southern Coffee was usually the cure. Okay, let's go. I'd mounted a gold plate on the outside that read E.C. Malone, Private Investigator. E.C. Malone? Pamela Malone? Trisha Malone? I don't know. I'm just leaving. There was only one place I needed to go to clear my mind. Southern Coffee. Southern Coffee was a basement dive. It wasn't modern, hip, or ever busy. It was my favorite place to down some paint, especially in the company of the best bartender in the city. Oh, here. Oh. Is that a cab? I gave my address and slouched in the back seat of the taxi cab. Taxi cab? It's not like cab or taxi, it's just taxi cab. Oh. I thought a good way to pass the journey might be to chat with the driver. I'm talking to him. I love talking to taxi drivers. They usually have something. Some cool stuff to say. He was young, not a teenager, not far off. The wetness in his face and the mean scowl told me he was angry. Much like driving taxi cabs, I offered. He looked quizzically at me through the rear view before understanding what I meant. No, lady, I like it right enough. Just some bozo. Force you were in here giving me hell. I look like the boy his daughter's going with. Went off about how my generation was ruining America. Scumbag don't know jack. Sounds like you know. Wasn't much interested. Sounds like you know. Sounds like you know more. I asked. I'm no genius, he replied. Did you talk to anyone from the last century? That tear off your ear for just being young. How'd they get so high? I wonder. In the world in the 1890s, like a smooth running roadster. Then, what they do? Bash it on every curd inside. Their greed, their war, their politics. Now, they give us our own clunker. And they're mad at our manners. When we grab the keys. Agreed. And then never mind what just happened. Coughing and never mind. I agreed with him. The Great War was the hardest fought at home and abroad. He said. The old man who put us there had some nerve. I replied hotly. After those years, they tell us to get in line. It's a bum deal to me, sister. We're the information age. The news of the world is crap. Just angry we can see their folly. The taxi cab rolled to a stop. Anyhow, the driver said, thanks for letting me blow off steam. Have a nice day, miss. I opened the car door and stepped out. Southern Coffee was an automat diner. Ethel Burgess was the lone waitress, was friendly to help with any inquiry. Of course, if you winked at her right, she'd show you the way to the downstairs toilet, where Frankie played bathroom attendant. What? Southern Coffee had a distinct feeling of home. The familiar smell of mold in that old basement was enough to put a grin on my face. So, let's talk to the guy. Frankie tended bar at Southern Coffee, though it wasn't his place. I never caught a whiff of the real owners. I trusted Frankie to do what he did best. Let's talk to him. Oh, hey, Frankie. The mustache. Reminds me of my mustache. I said, "Oh, Frankie," and was met with a smile and a grunt from Franklin Ernest Conway. Of course, it's not Frank Delano Roosevelt. He was a big fella, been a decent teacher, was a fantastic orator. What does orator mean? Wait a second. Oh no. Let's look it up. But if my battery's dead. He was a big fella. I say he was a big fella. Oh, hey, his smile is good. Not like Mr. Green settles you and freaks the hell out of you. He was a big fella, both wide and tall, and must have been a little over 50. Had a round head, kind of brown eyes, and a cropped ring of gray hair, encircling an otherwise bald scalp. His voice had a warm timbre that complemented the tobacco and whiskey smells of his speakeasy. Speakeasy? I sat at the bar. "Got this book, specie?" he asked. "You're worn as a catcher's mitt." I suppose my exhaustion showed. "I won $100 for nothing. I can't let it go." I told Frankie about the case, the threatening letter sent to Connor Green, how he assumed it was related to his bootlegging, the suspicion of Whetstone Stable. So it took longer than I had wanted, Frankie showing genuine interest by asking many questions. When I finished, he threw me the whiskey sour he'd been stirring. I took a large gulp and gave a sigh as thanks. "Well, Green's case is better than most of what you've given," he said with some enthusiasm. "At least it's not more of that adultery bunk." "Sure," I replied, "but I started with a goal in mind. What's the point in helping a man like Green?" Frankie clicked his tongue on his teeth. "Lawyer or priest, why does that matter? Let me ask you, are the clients you have now the types you want to help?" "The clients you have now the types you want to help?" I admit they weren't. I admitted they weren't. "Look at this guy. He's a wise guy. He's a good fella." I love referencing mob movies. I admitted they weren't. I told him that I wanted more for my detecting life. It could be that Green's case shoots your career forward, Malone. I sighed and stared down at my drink. My gaze was interrupted by the basement door opening and slamming shut. A small, blustering woman began marching towards me. She was wearing younger than 25. She was a few inches shorter than my 5'6". I thought her gray trench coat was too large for that small frame, which was when I realized it was exactly like the one that had belonged to my sister, I guess. Louis. She hurled insults at me a while all I could do was sit and take it. Then she ran out of gas and started breathing heavily. I set my drink on the bar and looked her in the eyes and inserted a hello. I studied her features. "Put away." "Yeah, let's dab on the haters." "Put away." She was about to start a tirade that launched her even worse. She screamed, "Hey, you! I'm the wife of that bum who sneaks into your bed, asked the cat. Where'd you get that coat? Just gapped. Again. I asked. The cat? The cat? The humor wasn't her angle, and she launched into another poetic stanza. And he just left your sty this morning, she finally ended. And that was when I gathered she was Connor Green's wife. I don't know what's worse, she or her husband. There's a crime? Mrs. Green, I'm a PI, not a home wrecker. But I don't think your husband, in his line of business, would want to bet a dick anyhow. Her look was pure incredulity. A woman in that line of work? Question. I don't believe it. I prove it. Connor Green had just given me a case that involves his bootlegging. Still wasn't sure if he'd worth my time. I decided to head. Okay, let's go to statements. Go to the threatening letter. As a new scheme, Ferguson. Evidence. Statement. Pathetic letter. The day before he came to me, Green had received shelter. Not about what Connor had came to me, the bootlegging and the threats. You see, Mrs. Green, this is what I do. There's much more I can show you to prove it. I still took more coaxing from her to believe me. Eventually she came around. She seemed grateful. I explained it to her. Apparently she had seen her husband leave my apartment, and distraught, she had followed me all the way to Frankie's basement and decided to confront me. Wait, he runs a bar in a basement? I suppose I lost my head after what I thought I'd seen, she said, and she began to cry. Don't cry, sister. Frankie, ever chivalrous, dimpled girl, came around the bar and held her up. Now that's all right, Mrs. Green. Why don't I hail you a cab and send you on back home? She agreed. They walked together up the stairs. Frankie turned, I said to him, "Good night real quick." He snorted at laugh. Oh, hell! You can't have that siren in here with a torture yelling like that. Every bugger would have come to her rescue. Mrs. Green is a torch singer. Singer? Well, I learned she was Mrs. Connor. Mrs. Connor Green just now. She came in here. I'd only seen her as Lil Fanny singing lead for the jazz band at the Tin Spoon. Tin Spoon? I said. Tiny Paul's joint? That's where Green is selling his liquor. Say, you think that's where she met her husband? I laughed. You're the real sleuth, Frankie. He made a sarcastic bow. I shook my head. Telling me you escorted our little torture out just to avoid a bit of hot water? Frankie flushed and said, What are you talking about, Malone? I was never good with emotions, but it was plain that Frankie had instantly fallen for the girl. I was never good with emotions. Okay, he fallen for the girl. She's married, man. No, every guy in this game is a creep. So what if I had more to squeeze out of her? I asked. What more could you possibly want from Lil Fanny? She can't have anything to do with Green's mess. I will contradict you. I give you some evidence or statements. His finger at the tin spoon. I use it to contradict you. Does that prove she knows anything? Frankie asked. He was right, it didn't. I don't see how Mrs. Green related to any of this, he concluded. I will contradict you, mister. She's following her husband. She's agreed to follow her husband to my place, I said. Why would she do that? Frankie rolled his eyes. PC, if you were Gwen's wife, you trust him with anything? I'm sure he's always up to something. I shrugged and stood up from the bar stool. What had just happened was quiet the workers. Seemed like my cue to move along. Once I'd asked Frankie to lend me some cash from that register, he growled so fast that I decided not to ask again. Anything his employers would notice before I got it back, but maybe he just wanted to save me from myself. I grabbed the wine bottle on the bar and examined its label. It featured a picture of grapes and the words "Sacramental use only." Frankie looked at me with a spark in his eyes. "Go ahead," he said. "Give it a swing." "Sorry, but I don't trust you, Frankie, for a reason." I shook my head. "Too much." He scoffed and grabbed the bottle from me, turning it to his hands. "I suppose you only like that bootleg paint. But I'll have you know that rabbits charge more than a nickel for this beauty. Only this type of Napa wine is made from that Zinfandel grape. It has a unique aroma." I'd been trying to learn more about wine, seemed everyone knew their stuff. But me, I noted that what Frankie had said about the origin of the grape, and he set the bottle back on the bar. "Not even drink. Since when do you know grape? You don't even drink, Frankie." Oh my god. I chitted. Frankie let out a bellied laugh. I still enjoyed the smell. He said there was a story behind his detailing. It cut short and he talked about it. An old relationship with a drink for a barman. Frankie sighed. "Too bad more folks can't know about it. This woman's league is the devil. One's Christian peppers. Aren't you done with the sauce?" I don't know. Women's Christian Temperance Union was now under feminist Frances Willard, a positive force for the support of women. Their staunch support of prohibition, along with the union's massive political clout, argued the very wet San Franciscan public, and she particularly wasn't popular with bartenders. Okay, so this is the prohibition era. I turned back to Frankie. Ask about notes. I'm saying I just turn away. Bar stools were cooked and warm. A usual one was in the center of the room. I could sit on it. I was if Frankie had a yarn to spin. Of course, the sauce helped keep me in place too. Okay. One says that to the outside world. Leave. I was heading up the stairs when Frankie called after me. "What are you going to do?" I'd been thinking about Lil Fanny. Let me think about Lil Fanny. I suppose even mobsters, people who cared about them. And she'd been wearing Louis' old jacket. Perhaps Green and Louis had been closer than I'd realized. "Guess I'll take Connor's Green's bait," I replied. "I've got nothing better on the stove. But he might need the help. Something still stinks though." "Well, what's your plan?" Frankie asked. "The way I see it, I have these goals right now. Green hired me for a job. Find the guy who wrote the letter. The basic part." "Do you want more?" asked Frankie. I nodded. "Green's the shady character. I have to learn about him. Who's this guy? Dig in his past. I can't go back him blind. Then there's something about his bootlegging. How'd Green get a connection like that? What's his source exactly? Squeezing that lemon would give me more juice." "You sound alright," he replied. "So, where is it you're off to?" "I've got 3 leads. That bootlegger stable, Green claimed sent him the letter. Then Spoon launched. I might learn more about Green's drum running schemes, and Mrs. Green could give me more dirt on her husband. Frankie nodded his approval. Well, if you're ever stuck, come back and see me. You can never solve anything without talking it over. I smiled and went up the stairs. I was debating where to go next. Southern Coffee, Stable's barber shop. Green's house. I go to the barber shop. Green had suspected Redstone Stable of sending him that letter. Apparently Stable owned a barber shop in the financial district. I figured there would be no harm in asking a Stable about the... I'll go here. The taxi cab driven by an old man with a mustache. Turned to me with eyes that had a playful glint. Sorry, he said in a rough voice. It's the end of the demo. I can't take you any farther. I didn't know exactly what he meant. Something in that gaze made me understand. Now, if you keep your eye out for a full release, be swell, he continued. For now, please exit the main menu. I nodded and went my way. Oh my god, this game is cool. And the ending of the demo, it's really fun. So, I can't wait for the full game to be released. Hopefully it won't be delayed. So, that's it. This was Radar Boy and see you all. Bye.